and welcome to Studio CAG. For over 30 years now, Citizen, Consumer and Civic Action Group has been working to protect citizens' rights in consumer and environmental issues and promote good governance processes, including transparency, accountability, and participatory decision making. This podcast series, Studio CAG, like our work itself, will cover various areas of interest to the average citizen and consumer. Follow us to keep yourself abreast of both social and environmental news. Climate change, a phrase we've heard over and over again, each time with an increasing sense of urgency. We know the climate crisis is real and climate change is here. We also know with quite some certainty that the planet that we will be handing over to our children will be a damaged one. So, how do we empower the generation that receives this planet over from us with the skills, attitude, and knowledge to know how to act, how to lead the way, and how to live in an ever changing habitat? Well, we'll need to teach them. And it's for this reason exactly that CAG has developed FOCUS, an abbreviation of Facts on Climate Change Unraveled for Students. This is a textbook recently released by CAG as a social studies textbook for middle school students. The book has been developed to specifically teach children about climate change and empower them to act and make a difference. To tell us more about the book and how CAG went about designing and developing the book, to tell us the rationale behind developing the book, and more about it, we have with us today Mala, researcher at CAG, and Kavita, educational consultant. Welcome, Mala and Kavita. So, Mala, we have heard about climate change and the urgency of acting has been impressed on all of us. While we are hearing about it from documentaries and newspaper reports and such, can you explain to us why we need to actively teach this to children? Are they not hearing about it from other sources already?
Climate change is a pressing global crisis that transcends borders and impacts all living beings on our planet. With its far-reaching effects on the environment, economy, and society, climate change is not merely a threat to our well-being, but also an opportunity for us to come together and create a sustainable future for generations to come. Teaching children about climate change is crucial because they are the future caretakers of our planet. We see schooling as a place where we learn the 3 R's, but for long, there has been a push that schools actually teach practical life skills such as managing finances, for example. Climate change is that subject which is a perfect mix of science and practical decisions. So, it's a great fit for any curriculum. More importantly, it is such a universal threat that we cannot leave it to chance that a child might hear about it from the newspaper or a documentary. We need universal coverage, that is, everyone needs to know, and the best way to do it is through the curriculum. The main objective in getting out this book is to educate students about the factors that contribute to climate change, as well as the basics surrounding this issue. Ultimately, the book seeks to empower individuals by informing them about the roles they can play in mitigating climate change to a certain extent, and also inspire them to become environmentally responsible citizens.
Welcome, Kavita. As the educational consultant for this book, what were your main aims for this book? Tell us a bit about what you think makes this book special.
The textbook is a CLIL textbook, meaning it is a content and language integrated textbook. For anyone to get a thorough understanding of a concept, it is important they understand key terms and how things are expressed. Therefore, vocabulary teaching becomes an integral part. We have a glossary of terms to help students understand vocabulary. We have included concept checking questions, knowledge checking questions, application oriented exercises to ensure students understand the concept and have the language to express what they understand. Another unique feature of the textbook is the reflections section, where students will express in their own words what they have understood about climate change and how they feel about what they can do. The lessons themselves are graded in terms of content and language. We start with basic concepts such as difference between weather and climate, and then take students to understanding concepts like climate justice. It also covers the cause and effect of climate change, its impact on the environment, and how we can mitigate its effects. We have additionally taken care to make illustrations as subtle as possible to not affect the psyche of children, especially when we look at the intensity of the issue. The textbook is curated for children in middle school, specifically those aged 12 to 14, as they are at an age where they are beginning to apply critical thinking skills and are able to think about actions they can take. Climate change curriculum is available in several parts of the world. Our aim was to create something that uniquely reflected the Indian context and help students observe changes around them. For example, we hear a lot about climate change induced problems and their intensity, say the Arctic ice melting and sea levels rising. But for children to relate to it, we need to help them observe changes in their surroundings with regard to changes in nature, temperature, and many other things. If you see, India is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change, with a high dependence on agriculture and a large population living in low-lying areas. The book addresses these differences and includes examples that are relevant to the Indian context. The textbook also has a section on climate justice to help students understand how climate change exacerbates inequalities for vulnerable population, in particular in India. When they understand how their country is impacted, it is personal and they will be able to make decisions for their own future.
Before we continue, for those of you who are listening and want to see or use the book yourselves, you can find it on our website www.cag.org.in. The book is free to download and use, and all content in it is covered by a Creative Commons license. To understand how well the book worked and for actual outcome measures, CAG has run a pilot program with the book in some city schools using volunteer teachers. Feedback from these teachers and students has been taken and incorporated back into the textbook again, and now we have the current version of the textbook. So let's talk to Kavita a bit more about how the pilot project went. Kavita, so we know that any good textbook, no matter how brilliant it is, needs the agency of teachers to make it truly successful. You need committed, aware, and motivated teachers, especially for something like this. How easy or hard is it to get teachers on board?
Getting teachers on board is crucial to the success of the program. It was a bit of a challenge to get teachers qualified to teach climate change on board, as this subject is new and not part of the school curriculum yet. However, we have found that teachers are receptive to the idea of teaching climate change. But some teachers may need additional support to feel comfortable teaching our material. To address this, we provide training to teachers on how to use the textbook and teach climate change effectively. We have also received positive feedback from teachers during the pilot phase regarding the material and the support provided by us.
Thank you, Kavita. So, do you think that teachers understand climate change well enough to be agents of change themselves?
Well, good knowledge about concepts and discussions around the world on the topic is necessary for teachers to effectively transfer knowledge. We in fact check the teacher's understanding before they teach the course. Then follow it up with our training program to ensure that teachers have a deep understanding of the material so that they can be change agents themselves. We also provide them with lesson plans and a teacher's manual and other resources to support them. By empowering teachers to become agents of change, we hope to create a ripple effect on inspiring students as well.
So, Kavita, if we have a school listening that would like to use the Focus textbook in their school? What should they know about it? Tell us a bit about the length of the program, how many hours of training for teachers is required, special resources that the school needs to prepare, or anything else that you think is of relevance to them.
We have planned a 24-hour course with 16 hours of classroom interaction with the teachers and 8 hours of self study, which will help students reflect on what they have learnt. We believe that along with teaching students about climate change, it is important to see what they understand from the textbook. The schools can have it spread over a month or two as time permits.
Mala, you've been to some of the pilot lessons and seen this textbook at work. If you wanted children to create one change in their lives to mitigate climate change, what do you think it should be?
There are many ways that children can contribute to mitigating climate change, right from conserving water in their day to day use to using public transportation. The one effective thing they can do is educate themselves about climate change. This will automatically lead to changes in their lifestyle, which in turn will help in mitigating climate change.
And of course, it's hard to talk about individual change, especially change from youngsters, children, without talking about systemic changes, the big changes we need around us to help adapt to and mitigate climate change. The sort of things that only governments, policymakers can do, the top down changes. So, Mala, can you tell us a bit about how Tamil Nadu is going about addressing the climate crisis and the inevitable changes that we can see around us already? What steps have been taken to adapt to and mitigate climate change at the big level?
The Tamil Nadu government has been pretty proactive in addressing climate change. It recently became the first state in India to launch its own climate change mission. It was officially launched on December 9th, 2022. The objective of the mission is to make Tamil Nadu a climate smart state. The mission aims to reduce overall greenhouse gas emissions in the state, increase the use of public transport, develop strategies to cut emissions by using green and renewable energy, increase forest cover, and manage waste effectively. The Tamil Nadu Biodiversity Conservation and Greening Project has also been launched recently. It aims to combat climate change by enhancing ecosystems and promoting socio-economic development. The project is allocated an outlay of nearly 920 crores and is set to be implemented over a period of 8 years. The primary objective of this project is to increase forest and tree cover in Tamil Nadu by 33% by the year 2031. Apart from these initiatives, Tamil Nadu is also set to establish 25 green schools aimed at providing quality education to students across the state. These schools will serve as a benchmark for other educational institutions with a focus on innovative teaching methods, infrastructure development, and student-centric learning, all revolving around sustainability. We are glad to inform you that on the request of Mrs. Supriya Sahu, Additional Chief Secretary to Government, Department of Environment, Climate Change and Forests, CAG plans to submit a proposal in order to facilitate the government to introduce the textbook curated by us in the regular school curriculum in these schools. This will go a long way in creating the next generation of climate leaders, aware, empowered, and ready to act.
Mala, can you remind our listeners about how they can get their hands on a copy of the book again, please?
The soft copy is already shared on all social media platforms. You can find it on our website www.cag.org.in. Our social media handle ID is at CAG Chennai. We are excited to share it with schools across India. All of the IEC resources on our website are free to download and distribute under the Creative Commons license. That is, you can download and distribute giving due credit to CAG. So please do have a look to see if there is anything that might be of interest to you. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Studio CAG. If you found the information in this podcast useful, don't forget to subscribe. Also, follow us on our social media handles CAG Chennai on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Our website www.cag.org.in also has loads of information that you might find useful. And until we meet again next time, goodbye.